We're live. I just got my own notification, and it's 1 o'clock on the nose. How's everyone doing? Okay, you know what? I feel the need before we start for anyone who's going to watch this after the live stream, watch this video. It's going to be interesting, educational. We're going to talk about MatPat Defy media, all of the legal stuff, the human stuff. It's actually going to be extremely good. Close to 50,000. Tim Scott's in the house. We got Edie Murphy, Keshav B, Judith Scott. We'll give a few minutes for everyone to get here. 13 thumbs up is always a good sign, and 7 people. That's good enough, but let's get some more people here. Before we start, let me just lower that. That's better. Tilt. Okay. Before we start, can everyone who is here tweet this? I think his Twitter handle is MatPat GT. Let me just make sure about that. Done. Let me just, how do I do this here? This. And let's say MatPat. It's my problem. Yes, it's at MatPat GT, like Grand Turbo or Game Theory. That probably makes more sense. All right, who else we got? Tim Scott, unemployed, Mario Yamasaki. Yeah, it's been a rough ride for you, Mario. Unemployed Mario, Sarah Bellum's here, DSLR Dave, Kyle the Bushcraft Kid, 0 Hour TV. General, if I talk too fast, let me know. Guys, I've taken notes. This is serious, this one, on the back of kids' drawings. Because we have no paper, apparently, in the house. Go Before You Don't is here. Miss Space Cadet, happy Sunday. Rock Entry's here. Hi, Viva. Hi, everyone. Stream time. Will Wyatt's here. Yes, so everyone, tweet this at MatPat. What will be, like, super groundbreakingly cool is if you actually tuned in and discussed the issues, because there's stuff to discuss. Who has seen the MatPat video? How much time do we actually give to make sure that everyone gets here, because it takes time for the notifications to get out? Nothing kills time more than playing a harmonica. Happy Sunday, Space Cadet. Go Before You Don't. Good afternoon, sir. Where are you? I did see it. Okay, so Judith Scott got the notification. I actually got the notification as well. So I guess we'll get started and then, you know, hope people trickle in as we go along. We got Lauren Sindel says, hi, great to see another stream. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday, everyone. It's the Boom Booms in the house. What the heck did I miss? Nothing yet. It's the Boom Boom. Rock Entry, Keshav B, Sarah Bellman. Just got my notification there, so it might take a couple of minutes for people to show up. Should I play some harmonica until we get there? Oh. Now, whenever I drink a cup of coffee on a video on YouTube, I'm nervous people are going to like draw some associations from the cup I'm using. Peter Rabbit? Who is this? I don't know who it is. Heather Boyd tweeted at MatPat. Good. I tweeted him. Who is he? MatPat does game theory. They sort of, it's like a gaming analysis type channel. I only ran into game theory when I've known of them because they're a big channel, but I got very familiar with them when they did the legal analysis of the Fortnite dispute and the Floss and the Carlton. And then they got into sort of like an online tiff with a guy from Legal Eagle because the lawyer said that MatPat's video copied his format and content and et cetera, et cetera. So that's how I got familiar with MatPat. I've watched a few of his videos, and it's not, I'm sort of more into the PewDiePie only, and oddly enough, not because of the gaming, just because of the other stuff. So who do we have here? Will Reed. Hello, friends. Hello, Will. Willie Reed. Natalie Boozaglu. I had a question for you, but too tired to remember. It'll come as we go along. Happy Sunday. This is Amazing Plays. Not for us. We have school tomorrow. Yeah, well, there may be another snow day in Montreal. We'll see. It's snowing not hard, though. And we got Blind Icon says he tweeted. Keshav, my favorite channel. Oh, okay, well, let's start with this while we give people time to come. My favorite fishing channel is Black Tip H. Awesome fishing channel. My favorite non-fishing channel, Jack Black Jablinski right now is my favorite channel ever. It's just so good. And now that I know what he's doing with the theme of his channel, it's just a work of art, set up perfectly. 20 people, 19 thumbs up. Okay, let's get started so that if anybody watches this later on afterwards, they're not going to get too bored. Who has seen MatPat's video where he says they stole $1.7 million by show of hands? And hands. Let's just say thumbs up on the side. Blind Icon says, I did. Not me. 0 Hour says he didn't see it. I saw it. Rock Entry. So for anyone who didn't see it, and like just to summarize, he starts off by talking about the highs and the lows of his career, knowing that he's getting into this issue, this legal issue where he and 50 other YouTubers have unpaid fees from an MCN. He talks about his kid, and he gets into it. Now, I always say, like, in law, because when I started watching that video, and at the beginning of the video, it starts by talking about his personal situations, highs and lows of the previous year, and knowing where it's going. From a lawyer's perspective, I call the perspective that, or let's say the pipes, laying the pipes, from a victim, what we call the victim view in law, which is someone who has been wronged and who has been victimized by somebody, deliberately or through no fault of anybody in the situation, sort of lays the groundwork where they have been victimized and sort of seeing the world now through the eyes of a victim. Everything that happens to them because someone was of bad faith, deliberately, et cetera, et cetera. So MatPat starts off the video talking about his personal life, having a newborn, getting into this situation where money was stolen from him or just not paid to him by this company called Defy Media, and how egregious and over the top it was, especially considering he has just had a newborn kid. And, it's even more of an insult for someone who just had a newborn to get stolen from than another person. So that's what it was about, laying the groundwork. When we got into the video, the bottom line is that a company called Defy Media, which was an MCN, which is a multi-channel network, closed its doors and didn't remit to various YouTube accounts that they were managing monies that they had collected directly through AdSense revenue paid by YouTube before they closed their doors. So all of the YouTubers that they were managing didn't get paid for what they had gotten from YouTube AdSense. Now, who knows what an MCN is? From a neurotic point of view, seeing these two numbers on the top, the thumbs up and the people viewing, is like a constant source of stress. Maybe I'm going to put some tape over it. I watched let me see what I missed here. Have you ever watched Lake Fork Guy, great fishing channel? No, I'll check it out. I love fishing channels. You have too much information between your ears. You know that, right? This is Rachel Roston's in the house. It's a blessing and a curse. I say that as a joke. It's a little. What makes it irritating is that I see the world not through the eyes of a victim, but just through the eyes of a lawyer. And so when I analyze a situation like MatPat, I'll often get accused of not being sympathetic to the victim and sort of looking to either blame the victim or defend the bad guys. In this case, Defy Media. But there is so much reality, legal reality, law reality, bankruptcy reality, business reality that, to say that it's not theft is already sort of seen as like attacking the victim and defending the victimizer. But we're going to get into it. Okay, so Rock Entry says, never join an MCN, not needed to grow your channel. So this is the thing about an MCN, multi-channel network. Sorry, I'll just keep it straight. I wasn't in the YouTube game, or I wasn't paying attention at the stage where you needed an MCN in order to actually get partner verified or monetize your videos on YouTube. I got into it afterwards, but I have always been approached by MCNs at various stages. MCNs, basically, they manage your entire YouTube channel. So they will find you if your channel is growing or popular, or if you have a very big video. They'll find you. They'll write you one of those sort of spammy emails. Hi, we are blank, an MCN. We manage YouTubers like X, Y, and Z. Sorry, that is getting me annoyed. That's better. And they will offer to take control of your YouTube channel, manage your YouTube channel, maximize your ad revenue by pairing you with the most appropriate ads so that they air on your channel. We'll get into the services that they render. And in exchange for those services, they are going to take a percentage of your ad revenue, take a percentage of video licensing agreements that they negotiate for you, brand deals, etc. By the way, if I miss, I'm going to try to read the comments as I do this. So if I ever miss anything, just let me know. Okay, never join an MCN. We'll get there. So MCNs, they take control of your channel and they claim basically your entire channel's monetization from YouTube. So whenever you get paid for views, the money goes to the MCN, who takes their percentage. If it's 50% for AdSense, they take their 50% and then remit to you the balance for what goes to you, your portion of it. And it's something that a lot of people don't know when we talk about the value-added services of an MCN. In theory, and again, I'm not defending an MCN because I've never used an MCN. I've always said no. See, I'm going to go before you don't. Says 6 years ago, I joined Maker Studios. It didn't benefit my channel in any noticeable way, yet they took a percentage of my AdSense revenue. So this is go before you don't, and we're going to get to this. The services that MCNs are supposed to provide. A lot of people just think if you have an ad running on your channel, you're going to get a certain percentage, or a penny per view or 10 views for the ad. Certain ads generate more AdSense revenue than other ads. It depends how they're placed, depends where they're viewed from. So in theory, MCNs are supposed to, like, as part of their service, pair your video with the most appropriate ads which maximize your AdSense revenue. Whether or not they actually do it is a totally separate discussion. That's what they're supposed to do. And so the MCN will say, if you have a fishing video, they'll pair your video with a Visit Michigan ad or something along those lines, where you maximize your ad revenue by having the most relevant ads running on your most relevant video, so that people actually click through to the ad. Whether or not they do it is a different issue. Another thing they're supposed to do is negotiate, say, third-party licensing. If your video on YouTube is awesome and Outrageous Acts of Science wants to use it, or the best example I could think of was Fail Arm, or these compilation shows where they laugh at people getting hurt on the internet. You'll notice that generally speaking, they're produced by media agencies. And so if they license your video off the platform to a third party, you get a licensing fee. They take their percentage, 40, 50%, and they remit to you the balance of the payment. That's just how it works. And the way it always works is they receive the payment, take their cut, and then remit the balance to you. That's just the way MCNs work. So much information so fast, I needed to go get some juice to make my brain work 0 hour. If I go too fast, let me know and I'll slow down and go back to specific issues. But the thing about an MCN is it manages your whole channel. And the reason why I never liked it is because I didn't need one entity holding all my eggs in one basket, managing my entire channel. I preferred to go license videos individually with video licensing agencies, where you get all of the same benefits without committing your entire channel to one MCN. So in MatPat's video, at the beginning of the video, he starts talking about what MCNs do. And then at some point later on in the video, he says, but they do nothing. They offer no services of value, and they're Ponzi schemes. But at the same time, talks about the fact that you need them for copyright protection. That's like the big one now, is if you have an MCN and someone rips off your video on YouTube, the MCN will go and claim the video, either force the party who made the illegal upload to take it down, or they're going to claim the monetization, in which case you get the benefit from someone else posting your video. And who knows me from the squirrel video? Let's just see how far back we can go. Oh, no, sorry, we're going to get where he's annoyed about the situation. But there's no question. There's no question he's annoyed and he's right to be annoyed. When I put up that squirrel video, when it went super viral in a week, everybody was ripping it off. Like I would Google Squirrel Steals GoPro and get these like channels that never existed before, created specifically to upload that video, or ones that have existed, just ripping it off. The video licensing agency that I had went and claimed it from everybody. So they either forced them to take it down, or they claimed the monetization, in which case I don't not benefit from their wrongful deed. They don't benefit from it. The news agency, or not the news, the video licensing agency claims the views from every other channel, and it goes into the pool, a pool that I would have never had myself because I can't track the internet for illegal uploads. MCNs do this sort of automatic surveying of YouTube with software spiders. They crawl the internet and they see if any video matching an image from your video that they're managing is uploaded. They go and claim it right away. It's sort of automated. And so MatPat says, at the beginning, this is what MCNs are supposed to do. In reality, they do nothing. It's a Ponzi scheme, but you need them for copyright. If MCNs do nothing else other than worry about copyright on YouTube, that's already a value-added service. Whether or not it's worth 50% of your AdSense, that's a personal decision, but that's already a value-added service that nobody can really disagree with. Why hasn't the breakfast television station hired you yet? They so need you. Yeah, Rachel, we'll see about that. We'll get there. And so Sarah Bellum says his video was an emotional response. This is why there are procedures in place when companies go bust. Let someone impartial deal with the fallout. We're going to get into some of the problematic things that MatPat. His video was an emotional response, no question. And emotions generally get you in trouble, because he did say things in the video that if he were my client, I would either tell him not to say, or tell him to remove from the video, or take down the video afterwards. But we'll get there. So that's what MCNs do in terms of copyright protection, which is a very big one, because you can have a video and if it gets 1 million views on your channel, you'll get $1,000. Good for you. If somebody else uploads it, or 10 other people, and they get a total of 1 million, but you don't have an MCN surveying the internet for illegal uploads, you're losing that $1,000. So they'll get that 1,000 for you. They'll take their 50%, 500, and you're still getting 500 more than you would have gotten by not being able to police the internet with this software. And so that's it. But the reality is, and why MCNs are probably a dying business, is that they offer channel-wide services that, you know, you can go with one agency or another for individual videos. There's no need to commit your entire channel to one MCN. You can license every individual video to various video licensing agencies, sort of in portfolio, they call it spread your risk. If one video licensing agency goes bust, at least they're only managing 1 out of 10 videos of yours. And the video licensing agencies offer the exact same services, but only on a video-by-video basis and not on your channel as a whole basis. One of the funny things is actually the MCNs always tend to approach you when you are relevant either as a channel as a whole or for individual videos. They only come to you when you're either getting momentum or you've gotten popular, which always led me to believe that they're there for their own opportunity, really not for yours. And so I'd get these calls and I'd ask them all these questions like, what are you going to do? We're going to offer thumbnails, editing software, copyright-free music. It's like, well, I don't need any of that. What else? Oh, I said, so you're going to do exactly what individual video licensing agencies are doing, but you want to grab my whole channel? No, thank you. So getting now to Defy. That's what the MCNs do. There's no benefit to an MCN, as far as I'm concerned, over video licensing agencies on a per video basis. No benefit. You get, everyone knows I use Storyful and Newsflare for the majority of my videos. They'll surf the internet and spider it and police it for unlawful uploads of individual videos that they license. And they won't do it for videos that they don't license. And that's fine. Some videos I just don't license through anybody. And if they get ripped off, is there any protection against bankruptcy of a company? Okay, so then this is what we're going to get into. So Defy Media was a big MCN. They managed the channels of 50 some odd YouTubers, one of which was MatPat, or the Game Theory. MatPat's channel. I'm not sure which one it was. It probably was Game Theory. And you know what? Before I forget it, at one point in MatPat's video at the end where he gives his 4 points, he says never accept anything less than 100% flow through, that every dollar you make goes to you first, not to the MCN. And he says, we've always insisted on that. And so I'm not sure what money was taken from MatPat if all of his AdSense revenue was going to him in the first place, but we'll get there. So Defy Media, a big MCN managing a bunch of channels and doing a bunch of other things. Apparently they just go bust overnight. It was November 2018. They closed their doors and that was it. Lay off employees and they cease operations. They had, for whatever period of time prior to, let's call it going bust, been receiving the AdSense revenue and third-party licensing, brand deals, etc. They had been receiving funds generated for their YouTube clients for however long that they hadn't paid them out for. So it might have been 1, 2, 3 months. It might have been a quarter. They received all those monies. And then they closed their doors, and they're not paying anybody anymore. Like the employees apparently didn't get paid. Guaranteed, there's a laundry list of people who are owed money, who provided services and didn't get paid, or clients for whom they were acting as MCN that didn't get their monthly statements or their monthly payments because Defy went out of business beforehand. And that's where MatPat comes in and says they stole from me, because when he renewed his contract with Defy, he had just had a kid. They come and discuss with him. They say, look, we're doing great. Keep your business with us. Don't go to another MCN or whatever. And, you know, we'll continue managing your channels, getting your AdSense revenue, striking brand deals with third parties. We'll get paid directly, and then we'll pay you as is customary as per our contract. And so that's what happened. They go bust. They didn't pay MatPat. They didn't pay the others. They didn't pay a ton of other people. And so MatPat feels as though they stole from him. And the reality is, you know, whether or not it's stealing, whether or not it's just not paying, the outcome is the same. He's not getting what he's entitled to, what's rightfully his, because this company went bust. And so the question is this, like, why did the company go bust? He says it was misrepresentation. They knew that it was a Ponzi scheme. They had no real business. This is where the emotional part and sort of the inaccurate summaries comes into play. When MatPat is talking about how MCNs, Pat, let me see. I got a question here. Lisa Martin, Rachel, because he wouldn't be free to be Viva Frei, he'd be censored. Hold on. Why hasn't oh, this is why I wouldn't go to Breakfast TV. Well, I mean, we could do a weekly show there and I could still be, I'm not radically controversial that I need to worry about censorship in general, but you know, if I do want to post a video of one of my dogs humping the other, I don't want to be held back by a television station. Okay, so where were we? Defy. Oh, why he feels that he's been stolen from. So somebody from Defy calls MatPat up because he's a big YouTuber. And they convince him to stay with Defy for the year as an MCN. And they say, we're doing great. Nothing to worry about. Keep your business with us. Then 2 months later, they go bust and he's been screwed out of however much money he's owed. And he says that, you know, Defy Media is a Ponzi scheme and they have to sell their empty bag to another investor who knows less. And this is where we get into a part of the video where I couldn't disagree more, and I couldn't say that this is more of an inaccurate oversimplification, because we're talking about these MCN companies selling out to companies like Viacom, Disney, whoever else. Viacom and Disney are not companies that don't know better. They're not companies that are, you know, unsophisticated, that don't know how to do due diligences. Rachel Rawson says, I wish I had these huge money problems. Well, no, the reality is, the bigger your money problems, it's not that you have more money, it's that you have bigger problems. A lot of the times with they say lawyers make a lot of money, but they spend a lot of money too. And so you have the same problems, just on a larger scale. So MatPat, you know, tries to say that these MCN empty companies, they try to keep their money, their clients' monies in their bank accounts so they can go to these investors and say, look, we've got $10 million in our bank accounts. It's such an inaccurate oversimplification. Like Viacom, Disney, before they buy these companies, they don't just buy them and then open them up afterwards and say, holy crap, we have nothing in this company. They do a due diligence before they buy these companies. And, you know, they know how these companies work. When I look at an MCN and MatPat says, you know, they're Ponzi schemes, they have no real assets, they're just holding monies that belongs to YouTubers. In a way, they're just like portfolio managers where you have these huge, call them REITs, you call them funds that manage other people's money. And they're worth billions, but it's not like anybody looks at these companies, or any sophisticated investor looks at these companies and says, oh, they're managing $1 billion of other people's monies, they must be worth $1 billion. Investors know how it works. Viacom does a due diligence. And for example, if they see that Defy has $10 million in its bank account, they don't just say, oh, the company must be worth $10 million. They're going to look at this and say, okay, they've got 10 million assets, cash in the bank. Who do they owe money to? Who are their liabilities? Oh, they owe 40 or 50% of that 10 million to their clients? Well, any reasonably sophisticated investor looking to buy the company is going to do that math. If they have 10 million in the bank, but they owe 5 million to their clients, it's not exactly just such an easy padding the books, make them look like they're worth 10 million to investors. Anybody knows how to decipher that. A company that has $100 million in sales is not worth $100 million necessarily, because you have cost of sales. And anybody doing a due diligence to buy the company is not going to say, oh, you sold for 100 million last year, you must be worth 100 million. Viacom and Disney don't look at Defy, let's just say Disney in particular, does not look at Defy and say, oh, they have 10 million in the bank, they must be worth 10 million. They know how the game works. So that's, I'm just reading some of the comments here. If anyone has any questions or wants to know anything else, get in there and we can have a discussion. You know, when I was putting together my MatPat video, it took me 3 hours to get the kitchen scene discussion right, because there was too much to deal with, and I had to focus on one particular issue, because there are all these issues in the videos. The false representations of a company to selling out to another company. Disney, Viacom, they do due diligences before they buy the company. Now, and there was a section in the video actually where MatPat was quoting one of the executives who said, you know, we bought the company and then we looked into it and there wasn't really much there. But the reality is, if you go to MatPat's video and look at that section where he's quoting one of the executives, that executive came into the company after the buy, after it was acquired. So that executive didn't know what the due diligence was. And I can understand employees and executives not necessarily understanding what went on during a due diligence prior to purchasing Defy, such that when they get there, they see that there's really not much to the business. And I say not much, but what is there to the business to begin with? The MCN manages YouTube channels, takes a percentage. The more channels they manage, the more of a percent, the more is that number in terms of a percentage. That's the business. And so there was another section where he's quoting quoting some people from the company who's saying, well, we just saw the numbers going up, the views going up because we were just acquiring more channels. That is the MCN business. Acquire the channels, manage the accounts. You take 20% of whatever you're managing, 20, say 50%. The more you manage, the bigger that 50% becomes. And that's what the business was. The question is whether or not it's value added. And then the question is what happens when the stuff hits the fan and they go bankrupt? What happens to their clients? And so MatPat, talks about Defy, the shady business dealings, which I don't really understand what they are unless he knows more than he's saying. But that is what an MCN does. They just, whether or not it's worth it, they manage the channel. They give you thumbnails, editing software, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, Keshav, I got another fishing video coming. It's glorious. I just haven't been able to edit it together yet. And we got Honeys Play Me Close, but I don't know what's going on there. So let me just get to my notes and see where I am in terms of my notes. Oh yeah, so I mean that's it now. So Defy goes bust. They don't pay the monies that they have already collected to the YouTubers, and they're probably not going to because they're bust. And and MatPat in the victim view says that's my money. They should have given it to me. It was never theirs to begin with. And this is the way I look at it. MatPat is looking at himself as the only or the main or the big victim because the agency collected money that was 50% of which was always destined to go back to the YouTuber. But money is a currency. And there is no question that there are other people whom have given currency to Defy Media that are never going to get reimbursed, repaid, or compensated for it. Employees gave their time for which they're never going to get paid. Their time has effectively been stolen. Suppliers probably gave supplies, materials, I don't know, coffee in the coffee room, and they may get stiffed also. So when a company goes bust, everybody doesn't get, everybody who has not gotten paid is going to get screwed by and large. And MatPat, unfortunately, he's not in a different position than every other unpaid creditor. It just feels different to him because $100 came from AdSense revenue. He was entitled to 50 of it. He's never going to get his 50 because the full 100 went to the MCN and they closed down before they can give him the 50. Okay, let's see what's going on here in the comment section. Nothing much. Okay. Let's see. So where was it? So that's where it is. Now, and then the question is, at the end of the video, MatPat wants to turn his personal financial loss into something of a social issue, make the bank aware, make Allied Bank aware of what's going on. Here's the thing also. Now, in his video, he says Allied Bank doesn't understand how MCNs work. Disney, Viacom, these people bought the companies not knowing how they work. I don't think any of that is true. These companies, the banks who are taking control of the assets of a company that's closed up, they may not be totally, as nuanced and experienced in a given industry as the people who operate in the industry, but they know how it works. And so let's back it up a little bit. This is what happens. Defy Media closes its doors. We can't pay our bills. We're done. Ceased operations. I don't know if they're in bankruptcy protection or they've already filed for bankruptcy and they're in the liquidation process. From what MatPat says in the video, it seems that they have what they call meetings of the creditors. Another one which he mentioned was happening in May. He said there's some meeting going on in May. And for those of you who don't know how this works, the company that goes bankrupt or that files for bankruptcy protection, they get placed under the protection of a trustee. At least this is all Canadian law. I suspect it's similar in US law conceptually. They get placed under the protection of what's called a trustee who starts, assessing the assets, liabilities of the corporation. If you're in bankruptcy protection, the idea is to make a proposal to your creditors. You say, we can't pay all of our bills, but if we rearrange some stuff, if everyone agrees to take 50 cents on the dollar instead of $1 on the dollar, we could pay off some of our bills now. Everybody takes a bit of a loss, but we continue going forward as a business. If they go into bankruptcy, business is closed, they're never coming back. Let's just see what we can gather in terms of assets so that we can divide them up among the creditors. If that's not where Defy Media is now, they're probably under bankruptcy protection, but I couldn't independently verify this before this video. So there is no protection against bankruptcy. Judith Scott. Long story short, no. A company's going to go bankrupt. The only real ways to protect yourself against bankruptcy is to guarantee your loan with security or guarantee your debt with security. And now that's what banking institutions do. Let me just close this here. if you're a standard supplier, you sell Coke bottles for the vending machines, and there are some exceptions here, but let's just say that they've taken your goods, they have 30 days to pay. If they go bankrupt, unless you are a secured creditor, meaning you have registered a security to guarantee payment of the amounts owing to you, you are not going to be very much protected in the bankruptcy, and you're probably going to get cents on the dollar for what's owed to you. What people do, landlords, banks, for example, a bank is going to say, here's $1 million loan. We're giving you $1 million. We are going to secure that loan with personal guarantees by principals, directors, executives. We're going to secure it by registering security against your receivables. So people owe you money. If you default on our loan, we are going to go after the money that people owe you, and we're going to get paid first until we pay off our loan, and then we'll give what's left to you. And it's called a hypothec. Basically, it's a security. You're just guaranteeing what's owed to you with something else. Personal guarantees are the best. So if the company defaults on the payment, you can go after the individuals who personally guaranteed the loan. So that's typically the way big lending institutions guarantee their loans. But then, like, individuals like MatPat with his size of his YouTube channel and the value that it's worth to an MCN or an agency, maybe he could negotiate some sort of a guarantee. Like, guys, if you don't pay me what's owed to me, I want the directors of this company to personally guarantee it. Maybe. Maybe he could negotiate those 4 tips that he gave at the end of the video, which is, you pay me first and then I'll pay you, because you can trust MatPat, or at the very least, even if you can't trust him, a channel of that size is not going to start screwing agencies by not paying them for their services. Or maybe they'll get a client like MatPat. Maybe MatPat would be able to demand setting up a trust account for him in particular, because if he brings in $1 million a year for the MCN or the agency, it might be worth it for them to set up a trust account. But for their tens of other thousands of clients who generate maybe $100 a month, they're not going to be able to set up a trust account. Nobody's going to really even listen to them. Okay, so now let me take a sip of coffee. So the company goes bankrupt, and everyone who has an unsecured debt, everyone who's owed money that has no security over it, they file what's called a claim, or a notice of claim, or a statement of claim. They file their claim with the trustee, and they say, okay, here are the invoices. This is how much they owe me. And the trustee, or I suspect Allied Bank in this case is acting as the trustee, they're going to get a list of all of the amounts owing to all of the creditors. They're going to make an amount that's owed. So let's just say $1.7 million is owed to the YouTubers who Defy was acting as MCN for. Let's just say there's $10 million total. There's another $8.3 million owed to various other people, employees, suppliers, whatever. They all go on a list. They say, okay, the company owes $10 million. Let's see who owes the company money, because the company still is supposed to get payment for services rendered. People may owe them money, whatever. And let's just say the company says, the Allied discovers that $2 million is owed to the bank. They're going to go collect on the $2 million, and they're going to put all the money in a bank. They're going to pay the trustees first. They're going to pay the secured creditors first. And then if there's anything left over, it's going to get prorated based on the size of the claim of the unsecured creditors. So I don't know if everybody followed that part. Do I know Prime Minister? Do I know Mr. Modi? Hey, John Cena's in the house. We see him. And so, I mean, that's the way it's going to work. And now MatPat in his video also is sort of saying, like, we're so insignificant. Allied doesn't really care about us. Allied doesn't care about the YouTubers any more or any less than they care about any of the other creditors. And it's not because they are YouTube creditors that they're going to get less attention. They're going to get prorated payment for what they're owed based on what Allied can salvage in terms of receivables or value for the company. Business is brutal. It's John Cena says, I'm trying to follow an event in the WWE. Business is brutal. Business is just is a question of knowing the people with whom you do business and spreading out your risk. Because when you have one MCN that's managing your entire channel, you're at the mercy of that one MCN. And the more money that they get and retain from you, the more risks you're at. Now, I forget if it was Jeremy Anthony or if it was Jeff from Juno in the comment section said, insist on monthly payments instead of quarterly, or I don't know if MCNs do it, yearly payments. Imagine you're on a quarterly payment schedule, and that means the MCN or the agency is going to collect all your money for up to 3 months. Then they're going to have 30 days to pay you. So you could be dealing with a period of 4 months where they're collecting without paying out. A lot of other video agencies, video licensing agencies are going to say, well, we'll pay you out when you get to $100 or a certain threshold. So long as you never hit that threshold, or so long as that period of time never lapses, they're holding your money. And if they go bust, they go bust. You're never going to get that money back except in bankruptcy for cents on the dollar. And so that's it. So one of the ways you can really protect yourself is do short-term payments. Like, yeah, you can ask for payments every month. But again, the issue is going to become for the small tens of thousands of clients who maybe make $100 a month through these agencies. They're going to say, for the $100, we're not sending you a check which costs $1.75 and has all sorts of manual labor that goes into it. We're going to wait for you to get to a certain threshold, or we're going to pay you every 4 months because we're just not incurring the expense for such small accounts to do it monthly. And that's what business is. Well, I think we just crammed in a ton of information in 36 minutes. Let me see if I didn't miss anything in my fantastic notes. Oh, there was the issue about Smosh, actually, which I also thought was very interesting. Smosh having sold, I forget what his name was, Anthony from Smosh. And if anybody doesn't know this, apparently Anthony from Smosh sold Smosh to Defy Media for no cash, but stock in Defy. And if anybody doesn't know what that means, let me see this. Can they pay via internet? It wouldn't cost them for a check. So a lot of them do it. Some of them do PayPal. In fact, I think they all do PayPal. But there are still transaction fees for PayPal. There's a transaction fee for anything. It's like everybody's getting their cut, whether you like it or not. So everyone's getting their cut. So yeah, there's PayPal, there's check, there's direct transfer or wire transfer, but there's even, there's wire costs. There's always a cost to getting paid because the middle person who's affecting the payment wants to get something out of it too. Smosh apparently Anthony from Smosh sold Smosh to Defy Media for, he said, $0 and stock in Defy. Don't know if this is true or not, taking his word for it. He says in his video that he put out a while back, the stock is worthless unless the company goes public, which is also not entirely true at all. You can have stock in a private company that's worth a ton. And there are a lot of huge companies out there which are private companies, not public, and the stock in them is worth a ton. There's not liquidity, but rather, I think the word is liquid. There's market issues in terms of public companies versus private companies as far as holding stock goes, because in a private company, you can't just sell your stock to anybody, which is one of the major issues in terms of liquidity of those stock. But it's not true that stock is only worth something if the company goes public. Defy could have stayed private forever and been worth tons, and the stockholders would have been, could have been millionaires if the stock was worth something, if the business was worth something. The stock really is just the call it the fractionary value of a company. If the company is worth $1 million and there's a million shares, each share in theory is worth $1, public or private. So, but Anthony from Smosh says he sold out for $0 for his stock, but got stock in Defy. Now Defy is bankrupt, and now his stock is worth $0. And that's a hard pill to swallow for anybody, because he probably negotiated annual salary, maybe management fees. He probably negotiated the sale for stock in Defy. They said, we're going to go public, you're going to be a millionaire, and that's how they sold it to him. They didn't have to go public for him to become a millionaire. And then what happened is they went bankrupt, and he never actually got paid for the value of Smosh that he brought to them, but he probably negotiated salary, maybe some management fees, hopefully. But otherwise, it was a bad deal that he negotiated, because you're basically, again, putting all of your eggs in one basket. You are relying on Defy to have value in order to give you the value for what you just sold to them for $0 for the shares, but stock in Defy. It's complicated. What is the net worth of Viva, Frei? It starts with a negative. That much I can tell you. What is my prospective value? That's infinite. Kashab, don't worry about it. It's not, dude. One day on my Wikipedia page, it'll have a number that is hopefully positive. Right now, if I had a Wikipedia page, it would be a big negative number. But I have potential. So that is that is basically the situation with MatPat. It's a very unfortunate situation. When everybody gets screwed, they get spiteful, but not spiteful in a judgmental sense. Like, I understand it, and they try to, in order to make sense of what happened to them, demonize everybody who participated in it. Where it's not just a question of circumstance; it's a question of ill intent, and it's a very sad thing in law, but it's a sad thing in life. When people get screwed, everybody involved in the problem becomes of bad faith. Everyone was out to get them from the beginning, lying, cheating, etc. Defy and the principals may very well have been lying and out to screw people from the beginning. But they also just might have been, faking it until they made it, but they just never made it. One of the things actually MatPat says in his video says one of the elements, their sales tactics or their sales pitch to me was, look, we just got $70 million in investors' money in 2016. 2 years later, they're bust. And MatPat's like, where'd that money go? You know what the reality is? At one point, I was looking this up. At one point, Defy had upwards of 400 employees, office space, rental, all this stuff. $70 million divided by 400 employees. I mean, let's just say that I think that rounds up to like $175,000 for annual salary, but that's per year. So you figure $70 million with 400 employees to carry, office space to rent, to pay for, marketing, advertising. 70 million goes quickly. I'm not saying they didn't squander it. I'm not saying that they didn't pay themselves dividends or cheat the investors out of the money by redirecting it to non-arm's length entities, emptying the company so that when the company goes bust, they've at least made their money. I'm not saying they didn't do that because I don't know, but nothing in MatPat's video allows you to conclude that above and beyond him suggesting they had offshore accounts. John Cena, can I tell you what has changed in Montreal since I've been born? Okay, save the question. We'll finish up with this MatPat business in 5 minutes, and then anyone who actually watches this afterwards for the rundown can tune out. The 70 million, where was I? I was talking about 70 million. Oh, yes. Now, if Defy Media actually, let's call it stole or screwed people, one of the ways they would do it is they get investor money, they pay themselves dividends, or they pay themselves ridiculous annual salaries, living expenses, travel expenses, food, cars, all sorts of stuff, to the point where they basically empty the company of its money by bringing it to themselves or their related companies. Yeah, that's a problem. And in bankruptcy law, you have these what's called preferential payments, or something which is called preferential payments, which is a company cannot declare a dividend if they don't have the solvency, or if they don't pass what's called a solvency test. So, if everyone knows what a dividend is, it's basically you have shares in a company. Well, we're going to pay the excess cash that we have, or the profits. We're going to benefit the shareholders by paying them $5 per share dividend. It's basically just it's a way of rewarding the shareholders for holding shares, because shareholders don't get paid salary. Shareholders don't get paid administration fees. They just hold pieces of paper in a company that are called shares. And the way they get benefit is when the company declares dividend from excess cash or profit. A company can't declare a dividend if they don't pass a solvency test. If they're not solvent, if by paying the dividend, they don't have enough money to pay their suppliers, they can't declare the dividend. And if we really want to get complicated, you have different classes of shares which can be paid dividends through different ways. And you have what's called preferred shares, which are typically executives or people high up, lenders have preferred shares, and you can pay dividends to them without having to pay dividends to regular shareholders. But in the bankruptcy, the trustee and the banks come in and the lawyers, and they look at what the company was doing with their monies in the period leading up to the bankruptcy. And there's what we call a reviewable period, depending on the type of transaction that we're talking about. But there's a whole period of time where you start to look at what the company was doing with their money. And if you find out a month before the company went bankrupt, they paid dividends to shareholders and directors. If you find out they were employing family and paying them salaries in the year before the bankruptcy, well, you can go after those people and insist that that money go back into the bank account of the company for the bankruptcy, so it could be divvied out among the creditors. So we're gonna, you'll find out what the company did with the money. And if it turns out they were transferring it to bank accounts offshore, paying their mortgages, all sorts of things of the directors, of the principals, yeah, someone can call that theft. But if it turns out in the year leading up to the bankruptcy, they were just paying their employees what they needed to pay them, they were paying rent, and they just ran out of money, someone who's been victimized will feel like it's theft, but it's not necessarily theft. It's just either bad business management or it's just business. Businesses go bankrupt. Restaurants go bankrupt. Something like 80% of restaurants go bankrupt within the first 5 years or 2 years. People lose money. Investors lose money. Suppliers lose money. This is why you need to know who you're doing business with, and you need to protect yourself to the extent that you can. Part of the way that you can protect yourself is by limiting your exposure. All right. Coffee is tremendously cold. Who's here and who has questions and who wants to talk about something else? It's so weird doing this live stream without the kids in the house. I hope this was value added for anybody, maybe anybody who's watching now. I don't know if the relatively low participation rate is because of the time of day or the subject matter, but now this can be used for anybody who needs to have their head exploded with information in 45 minutes. What has changed in Montreal since I was born? The only thing I can really think of that's remarkable is the skyline. A lot more skyscrapers. The downtown skyline doesn't look anything like it did when I was a kid. And there was some empty fields which now have buildings. It's mostly development. There was a great golf course that closed down. There was a great golf course that closed down, and then they started building condos, and it's just terrible. It's the subject, David? Yeah. Well, I wanted to do this video on the subject because it was too difficult to do an actual edited video together. And I thought maybe MatPat would come. Where are the kiddos? The kiddos, my wife took our 3 kids and another kid, 4 kids up to get some food because Tim Scott says it's interesting, but it's also intellectual and requires thought. The thing is, it's not intellectual requires thought. There's so much terminology that presupposes prior knowledge or experience that even the idea of talking about a dividend is not necessarily common language. Preferred shares, secured creditors. That's why MatPat's video, it got everybody up in a tiff, like say, how can they steal from him? But MatPat's video, in a 2-minute nutshell, they didn't pay me the money they owed me. That happens all the time when companies go bust. The anecdote I gave in the video is, I had clients go bankrupt. I had a few clients who I'm sure knew they were never going to be able to pay me, but I continued asking me to work for them until I billed them. And then when I billed them, trustee calls them and says, sorry, they're in bankruptcy. You come through us now, file your claim with us, and if there's any money left, we'll give you some money left. It happens, and that's it. You just have to know. Okay, let's see. We got Anthony Will. Hi, Viva. I'm currently on the PBA tour. Just want to say thanks again for the bowling vid. Anthony Will, you're on the PBA tour. If I make a telecast this year, I'm giving you a shout out. Anthony, if you are ever on the East Coast, I would love to come and watch you. I've never seen, if anyone doesn't know, I made this bowling video. Oh, I'm going to tweet it to this guy who it was a weird video, out of character. I figured I would impart some of the knowledge that I had acquired in 4 years of living in Quebec City. So I made this tutorial on bowling, a beginner's tutorial, because I watch a lot of PBA. Anyways, the video sort of went crazy. It's like at 25,000 views, and it got controversial. I got called names in the comment section of that video. Crazy. So let me see here. Where did he go? Anthony, I would love for you to email me, david@vivafrei.com. I'll Google you after this. I'd love to know your record, but please give me a shout out. That would be awesome. But I'd also love to just come and see you and interview you. Anthony, may I ask what side of the coast you're on? How many cases have I won? John Cena? I don't know. I'm one of those guys that I don't remember the ones that I win. I only remember the ones that are soul-crushing losses, defeats. And I had a few too many of those. I had a few too many. I had a few. They soul-crushing losses. Even the ones where I won, which were massive victories, I still lost because we went to appeal and then we ended up settling. And it was just, even when you win, you lose in law because it costs an arm and a leg to win. When is your Gillette video coming out or not touching? I'm not touching the Gillette one. Not touching it. There are some subjects which are just lose-lose situations. And even which was the one that I just did? The video I just did. I'm sorry. Hold on. I don't want to lose track of Anthony Will. I don't know if he's still here. Hold on. Where did it go? Where did it go? Anthony Will. Let me just screenshot this so I can remember it for later. Yeah, the Gillette, I'm not. There's no winning. It's you say one thing, and the internet is the place just for fights, because you say one thing which is nuanced, and people just want to demonize one way or the other. And I'm saying this, like I said it in my video about Phil DeFranco not saying sorry to the kids. It's the left and the right, and when I say it's the left and the right, then the people on the left get mad, and the people on the right get mad. I've been getting called snowflake on. I've been getting called snowflake. I don't know who's calling me snowflake more, like the left wing or the right wing, but I'm just getting called snowflake from both sides. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, so that's it. Not touching that. Not touching the Gillette, because there's also no good that can come of it. It's the collective speaks more efficiently than the individual, and I don't need to stick my neck out there on a subject where the only thing that I can do is upset certain people. Sarah Bellum says, I find it interesting too. I seen MatPat's video when it was put up and wondered what your thoughts were. Live is the best way. It gives a chance to ask questions if I get a bit lost. Yeah, if anyone has any questions, put the question in there. I'd love to answer it. But the thing about MatPat's video that irked me, but that anybody who knows, anybody with sufficient experience knows, is he's not more of a victim than anybody else that is going to get screwed in the bankruptcy. And he may feel like he's more of a victim because that money was never theirs to begin with. Well, A, that's not true, because they were entitled to 50% of the AdSense revenue for the services they were providing. If the people don't think it's worth providing, if they don't think there's providing a service, then don't sign on with them. But when you sign on with them, they're getting 50% of your AdSense revenue, whether you like it or not. So it wasn't his money. Half of it was his money. And the flow-through mechanism is a risk to the person receiving it down the line. But that's just the that's just the way it works. I saw T-Series and PewDiePie, and now it caught my attention. Okay, so hold on one second here. Let me go back. Tim Scott, I was in Montreal on Christmas 2017. It snowed the entire time. Magical. It's beautiful. When it snows and the snow sort of like creates like a sort of a buffer. It just, everything is like quiet. Like there's sort of, it's like you're not a padded room, I don't want to say, but it's like you're in a studio, a recording studio, where it's soft noise and it's magnificent. Okay, now we got Viva. You must watch an Indian movie. You are a surgical strike. Me what? Let me just screenshot this, Keshav. I would love to. Okay, John Cena says T-Series versus PewDiePie. It's a no-brainer. It's going to happen just from sheer demographics, but it's fun to watch, and it's sort of fun to play along with. And this is how the internet works in terms of demonizing people. Like it's come to a point where, like, if you like PewDiePie, if you even watch certain people's channels, you get demonized for supporting all of the nasty accusations that have been leveled against the person. The Don in London, yo, I'm here. Well, Don, you're a little late, but it doesn't matter. You can watch the part about MatPat later if it's of interest. John Cena says, you serve me. John Cena says, Viva, sir. Will you serve me dinner if I come to visit your house in Montreal? No, I wouldn't. There was, I think Casey, who was it that said that you have to respect the private place. We can go for coffee. But one has to respect the sanctity of, I think it was Casey who said you have to respect the private places of even people who live public lives. Who was it that said it? Or was it Philip DeFranco? It might have been Philip DeFranco who said, so he sees comments that says, well, you guys make yourselves public figures. You should expect certain things. And I tend to agree with him. Yeah, there are limits. And we got here, Keshabi. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. If I can't wait to meet you, I'm coming. Well, I'm going to do a meetup somewhere. So we'll do a meetup, and that'll be the best way to meet. I just can't figure out the best place to do it, the best time. I sort of want to do it at a breakfast joint. But yeah, Keshav said it. Casey said that as well. I'm sure Philip DeFranco said it, but he might have been talking about Casey. But yeah, no, there's a line, and I'll come from India, bro. That's a long ways. No, we're gonna do a meetup sooner than later. So let's see who else. Montreal in spring. Do it in Alabama. I've never been to Alabama. Could maybe do that. Anyone got any questions? We're frozen. I'm joking. We're not frozen. I'm on tour in Lubbock, Texas at PBA, then off to Allen Park. Michigan is getting close. I've never been to Texas, and I really want to go to Texas, but that's a little bit of a far drive. Michigan, I can actually drive down to. Oh, that would be so cool. Brazil, I can serve dinner. Come to India, New Delhi. We'll see. Come fish with me, 0 Hour TV. Meetup are always in USA. No, this meetup is going to be in Montreal. The question is, Do we do it at Snowden Delicatessen if I can get the place, or do we do it at Bagels Etc. if I can get the place? Okay, Anthony Will. Okay, so let me know, man. That would be so cool. I've always wanted to interview a bowler. I've had questions. I've always had questions about things that I've gotten obsessed with at some point. Hello, say hi to the world. All right. Oh, heaven to zoo, do Michigan and come to the dairy farm. We can do a twofer. Spring break is coming up. I live in the biggest man-made lake in the state of Alabama. How do they make the lake? So they created a dam and made the lake? That's kind of cool. Okay, 56 minutes. We're going to call this, and he's a cute French bulldog. He's very cute. He's got some behavioral problems, but Hey, Joe says, just stepping for a minute. Thanks for the tweet earlier today. Very much appreciated. What do you think? Oh, question. Why do you not link your YouTube channel on my Twitter page? Do I not? I'm going to have to go fix that right now. Okay, Dawn in London says, oh, and by the way, hey, Joe, that video was fantastic. Hectorius's rap video, if anybody doesn't follow Hectorius, had a very funny Eminem parody, which was great as well. But no, hey, Joe, you make great videos. It's okay, I got a question. I'm thinking about setting up a space for small YouTubers to record and network, similar to 368, but will be open to all and be a small cafe rustic style place. Don London, that is not a question simply because you've added question marks to the end of it. No, so seriously, what's the the question is, do you think it would help the industry? Well, not to be cynical, don't worry about helping the industry. Worry about whether or not there's a market to help your business. And the funny thing is, I was thinking about doing something along those lines in Montreal, and my joke was calling it 514. There's already a place that does it. I don't know what the demand is. Anthony Will says, you got it. Thank you very much. Anyways, Anthony, we'll keep in touch, but thank you very much. And I'm glad you appreciated the video. For the people hating on me for the advice, I think it was relatively accurate, even if basic. And I didn't touch on the changing lanes in the video because, well, I've never actually bowled changing lanes to see what my average would be. But also, Don London, I would say you have to make sure there's a market for it if you don't want to get stuck with a 5-year lease, 1-year personal guarantee, and then you can't pay the rent. Which is that. But there is, that's the thing. There's a business for it, but then you have to think about margins. How many people do you need to rent out space for $50 a month? And the logistics. These are very time-intensive sort of businesses to get involved in. Hectorius's video was crazy good. Yeah, the editing in that particular video, I don't know how the editing and music must have just taken forever. We got Nico M. Hi from Stockholm. Love your vlog, Nico. Thank you very much. Hello from over the pond. This is Ajo talking to Rachel. Okay, and Rachel Rawson also has an awesome YouTube channel and is coming to North America. So I suspect she's going to have awesome content for a while coming soon. Okay, what do we say? Call it quits. Rachel Rawson, hey Joe. Okay, all right. Let's go with a minute left for any questions that anyone has. Don in London says, actually, I don't want to charge people for the space, so the business will be set up as a biker's cafe. Just think small creators. Okay, so Don in London, sorry, I should read that out loud. Actually, I don't want to charge people for the space. Set it up as a biker cafe. Just think small creators do not have a space. Then there's the logistics, like the legalities of it. If you're going to open up a spot for creators who are going to be filming and recording, then you have to have the consideration of people showing up who may not want to be in videos, who may get recorded, all sorts of things. Like it's never as straightforward as I want to have a cafe where people come and create also, because then you have two worlds colliding. No, don't I don't want to end. I just want to make sure if anybody has any questions that I haven't answered, we'll have a separate space for the recording. Yeah, well, you work out the logistics. It's interesting if but it depends what your bottom line objective is: to make money, to break even, but provide a service. If you have money and this is just sort of to give back, I mean, it's depends on what you're looking for. Okay, 1 hour. I say we wind it up. Oh, that was a good crack. I got some good video. I have 3 videos that I edited last week that I never got out because I wanted to deal with the MatPat video first. And the giveaway. Oh, the tripod. Anyways, we're going to do that giveaway. If anybody hasn't seen it, I have that giveaway video for the GoPro Hero 7 Silver. Tweet that out so we can get to 1,000 views so I can actually show the people at GoPro that I can get to 1,000. Was it 1,000 thumbs up? Sorry, not 1,000 views. But it should technically require 1,000 views. Tweet that video out so we can get some exposure and I can hit the 1,000 likes before 3 weeks. One way or another, there's going to be that giveaway coming. I've got 2 tickets to Montreal Fight League, which I'm only going to offer to people in town so that someone can actually use them. Damn it, man. Have you ever been to the UK? Is she talking to me? I've been to Scotland and Ireland. What else is coming up? So I have a cooking video coming up. I have a fishing video coming up. I have an amazing follow-up video to a video I did last year where I visited my brother-in-law's distillery. I got a cute video with Ethan that I'm sure is going to go viral just because it's so cute coming up. But I got sidetracked from a bunch of other stuff. I got a tripod to give away from a Facebook page. We got a lot of stuff. So that's it. Share the channel. Spread the word. You know where to reach me. Peace out, everybody. And end stream. Hand over light.